For decades, Hollywood's toughest cowboy stars defined masculinity for an entire generation. Fearless on horseback, rugged on screen, and admired by millions around the world. But behind the gunslingers, ranch heroes, and macho Western legends were private lives that studios often worked hard to hide from the public eye. In a time when revealing the truth could destroy careers overnight, several famous Western stars secretly lived very different personal lives away from the cameras. Today, we're uncovering 20 macho Western stars who were actually gay, revealing hidden stories, Hollywood secrets, and shocking truths fans never expected to hear. And now we want to hear from you. Tell us how famous your favorite Western star was in their prime and which story surprised you the most. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Ben Johnson was the perfect actor to close out the golden age of Western films because he did not simply play the role of a cowboy. He truly lived it. Long before Hollywood recognized his talent, Johnson had already built a reputation as a skilled ranch hand, rodeo champion, horse trainer, and stunt performer. Born and raised in Oklahoma, he grew up around cattle ranches and horseback riding, giving him a natural authenticity that audiences could instantly recognize on screen. Unlike many actors who learned Western mannerisms for film roles, Johnson carried himself with the quiet confidence and rugged presence of someone who genuinely understood the cowboy way of life. His transition into Hollywood happened naturally through stunt work and horse training, before directors began noticing his strong screen presence. Over the years, he appeared in numerous Western classics and became especially respected for performances that felt grounded, sincere, and believable. In 1971, Johnson earned an Academy Award for his emotionally powerful role in The Last Picture Show, proving he was far more than just a traditional Western figure. What made Ben Johnson unforgettable was not flashy acting or manufactured toughness, but honesty. He represented a version of the American West that felt authentic during a period when Hollywood often romanticized cowboy culture. Even decades later, his legacy continues to remind audiences that the most enduring Western stars were often the ones who brought real-life experience and quiet dignity to the screen. Clint Walker may have been the most visually imposing macho figure of the classic Western era. Standing around 6 feet 6 inches tall with massive shoulders, a deep, steady voice, and a calm, commanding presence, he looked less like an actor playing a cowboy and more like a living monument to frontier masculinity. When audiences first saw him in the television series Cheyenne, he immediately stood apart from other Western stars. His appearance alone carried a sense of strength, authority, and quiet control that perfectly matched Hollywood's ideal image of the American cowboy during the 1950s. The entertainment industry quickly realized that Walker's greatest asset was his physical presence. Studios often built his image around rugged frontier values, silent confidence, and heroic masculinity. Publicity photos frequently highlighted his athletic build, while his performances relied less on dramatic speeches and more on controlled intensity and natural charisma. He became a symbol of the tough but honorable Western hero that audiences deeply admired during television's golden age. At the same time, Walker's private life remained extremely guarded, which was common during that period in Hollywood. Studios carefully protected the public images of their leading men, especially actors associated with traditional masculine roles. Any rumors, speculation, or aspects of personal identity that did not fit the carefully constructed image were often kept hidden from public view. That reality reflects a larger truth about old Hollywood, where maintaining a stable and marketable persona was considered essential for long-term success. Today, Clint Walker remains an unforgettable symbol of classic Western mythology and the powerful image-making machine behind it. Van Heflin was one of those classic Hollywood actors who made toughness feel effortless and believable. Unlike many leading men of the era who relied on flashy charisma or exaggerated bravado, Heflin brought a quieter, more grounded style to the screen. His characters often felt like real men shaped by hardship, responsibility, and experience, rather than polished Hollywood fantasy. Whether appearing in westerns, war dramas, or crime films, he projected a natural masculinity that audiences deeply trusted during the 1940s and 1950s. Films such as Shane and 3:10 to Yuma helped solidify his image as a rugged but emotionally layered performer. He had a rare ability to appear strong without seeming theatrical, which made his performances age remarkably well compared to some of his contemporaries. That authenticity became one of the defining features of his career and contributed to his lasting reputation among classic film fans. Over the decades, Heflin's name occasionally surfaced in discussions about old Hollywood secrecy and the private lives of masculine screen icons. However, unlike some stars surrounded by documented evidence or later public revelations, much of the speculation connected to Heflin remained rooted in rumor rather than confirmed facts. In many ways, this reflects the culture of classic Hollywood itself. Studios carefully controlled public images, especially for actors whose careers depended on projecting traditional masculine ideals. The fascination surrounding figures like Van Heflin reveals how powerful those carefully constructed identities became. His screen persona was so convincing that even ambiguity could survive for generations. More than anything, his legacy reminds audiences how old Hollywood often blurred the line between authentic personality and carefully managed mythology. Forrest Tucker had this kind of appearance Hollywood casting directors instantly recognized as dependable leading man material. Tall, confident, broad-shouldered, and naturally charismatic, he projected the image of traditional American masculinity with very little effort. Whether appearing in westerns, war films, or television dramas, Tucker often looked like the sort of actor whose presence alone could communicate toughness, authority, and reliability before he even delivered a line of dialogue. During the golden age of Hollywood, that type of image carried enormous value. Over the years, Tucker built a long and steady career across film and television, becoming especially familiar to audiences through projects such as F Troop and numerous Western productions. He represented the dependable masculine archetype that studios frequently relied upon during the 1950s and 1960s. Unlike some stars whose appeal centered on glamour or mystery, Tucker's screen image felt direct, approachable, and firmly rooted in traditional expectations of manhood. In later decades, Tucker's name occasionally appeared within broader conversations surrounding old Hollywood rumors and speculation about the private lives of certain male stars. However, much of that discussion emerged more from gossip culture and retrospective interpretation than from strong documented evidence. In many ways, his legacy reflects how classic Hollywood often created intensely managed public identities for actors, especially those associated with rugged masculine roles. The fascination surrounding figures like Forrest Tucker says something larger about the entertainment industry of that era. When studios repeatedly emphasized strength, toughness, and conventional masculinity, later generations sometimes began wondering what pressures may have existed behind those carefully maintained images. More than anything, Tucker represents the complicated relationship between Hollywood mythology, public expectations, and the private realities that audiences rarely saw. Rory Calhoun arrived in Hollywood carrying a reputation that already felt larger than life. Long before studios transformed him into a Western leading man, he had experienced a troubled youth marked by run-ins with the law, time in reform school, and involvement in theft-related crimes. In many ways, his early life resembled the background story of the rebellious outlaws often portrayed in classic American cinema. Rather than allowing that history to destroy his future, Hollywood reshaped it into one of its favorite narratives. The troubled young man redeemed through toughness, charm, and reinvention. With his rugged good looks, tall frame, and confident screen presence, Calhoun quickly became a natural fit for westerns and action films during the 1950s. Studios promoted him as the image of masculine stability, a strong, dependable cowboy and family man who embodied traditional American values. Audiences responded to that carefully crafted persona, and he became a familiar face in films and television throughout the golden age of Hollywood westerns. Over time, rumors and speculation about his private life occasionally surfaced, as happened with many stars from that era. However, much of the discussion remained rooted more in gossip culture than in firmly documented evidence. What stands out more clearly is how effectively Hollywood managed to rewrite Calhoun's public image. His documented criminal past, which might have ended another career before it began, was reframed as proof of rugged masculinity and personal redemption. Rory Calhoun's story reflects the remarkable power of old Hollywood image-making. The industry understood how to transform flaws into mythology, turning troubled backgrounds into symbols of strength, resilience, and masculine appeal for generations of moviegoers. Cesar Romero was one of Hollywood's most polished and effortlessly charismatic leading men, known for a version of masculinity that felt smooth, elegant, and carefully controlled rather than rugged or rough-edged. With his striking looks, refined mannerisms, and natural charm, he became a familiar presence across film, television, and stage for decades. Audiences often remembered him for roles that highlighted sophistication as much as strength, setting him apart from many of the more physically imposing Western stars of his era. Throughout his long career, Romero's name occasionally appeared in memoirs, retrospectives, and whispers surrounding Hollywood's more private social circles. However, much of that discussion has always remained speculative, lacking concrete confirmation and reflecting more the culture of rumor that often surrounded classic Hollywood than any verifiable record. Like many stars of his time, parts of his private life were kept carefully out of the public eye, contributing to an air of mystery that followed him for years. One of the most frequently noted facts about Romero's personal life is that he never married, something that stood out in an era when studio publicity often emphasized traditional family images for leading men. Whether intentional or simply personal preference, his consistent privacy became part of his public persona. In hindsight, it can be seen less as coincidence and more as a deliberate way of navigating the expectations and pressures of the studio system. Cesar Romero ultimately represents the polished, controlled side of Hollywood masculinity, a star who understood how to move within the industry's unspoken rules while maintaining a carefully curated sense of image, charm, and distance. Guy Madison looked almost too perfect to feel entirely real, like a carefully constructed image of Hollywood masculinity rather than just a working actor. With his handsome features, athletic build, and calm screen presence, he was quickly molded by the studio system into a very specific kind of post-war male ideal. Hollywood did not simply cast him. It renamed him, styled him, photographed him, and promoted him as part of a larger fantasy of American manhood designed for mass audiences. As his fame grew in the late 1940s and 1950s, Madison became closely associated with romantic leading roles and Western characters that emphasized strength, charm, and emotional restraint. His image was tightly controlled through publicity campaigns that highlighted an idealized version of masculinity, one that felt polished, confident, and almost effortless. In many ways, he represented exactly what studios wanted audiences to believe a leading man should be. Over the years, however, Guy Madison's personal life occasionally became the subject of speculation in gossip columns and retrospective discussions about classic Hollywood stars. Some rumors suggested that the carefully crafted public persona did not always align neatly with the private reality behind the scenes. Like many actors of his era, he lived under a system where personal details were heavily managed, and ambiguity often remained part of the star image. What stands out most in hindsight is not any single confirmed narrative, but rather how effectively the studio system could shape perception. Hollywood did not require clarity or verification when building its stars. It required consistency. Guy Madison ultimately reflects that system, a carefully designed symbol of masculinity whose public image was polished to remain stable, appealing, and enduring in the eyes of the audience. Have you ever looked at a celebrity transformation and been completely amazed by how much a person can change over time? Some transgender celebrities have shared deeply personal journeys that not only transformed their appearance, but also changed the way the world understands identity, confidence, and self-expression. Behind the headlines and glamorous red carpet moments are emotional stories of courage, struggle, and reinvention that many people never fully hear about. Today, we're exploring 10 transgender celebrities before and after 2026, revealing their incredible transformations and the life-changing journeys behind them. And now we want to hear from you. Tell us how famous your favorite star was before and after their transformation, and which celebrity inspired or surprised you the most. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Nikki DeJager, widely known as Nikki Tutorials, became one of the most influential beauty creators of the digital era through her remarkable makeup artistry, confidence, and engaging personality. Born in the Netherlands, she began posting makeup tutorials online as a teenager, quickly gaining attention for her dramatic transformations, professional-level techniques, and natural comfort in front of the camera. Over time, her YouTube channel grew into a global brand, attracting millions of subscribers and leading to collaborations with major cosmetic companies and celebrities around the world. One of the most defining moments of her career came in 2020, when Nikki publicly revealed that she was transgender. After facing threats from individuals attempting to expose her private life, she chose to take control of her own story by releasing a video titled, "I'm Coming Out." In the emotional but composed video, she explained that she had begun transitioning at a young age and wanted to speak openly on her own terms, rather than live in fear or silence. The response was overwhelmingly supportive. Millions of viewers watched the video within hours, and public figures, fellow creators, and fans praised her honesty and courage. Instead of damaging her career, the moment strengthened her connection with audiences around the world. Already successful before sharing her story, Nikki's influence only grew afterward. Today, she represents far more than beauty and makeup. For many people, she has become a symbol of authenticity, resilience, and the strength that comes from embracing one's true identity in a world often driven by image and public perception. Gabby Tuft, formerly known to wrestling fans as Tyler Rex, represents one of the most striking personal transformations in modern entertainment. During her years in WWE, she was recognized for a muscular physique, powerful in-ring presence, and a character built around traditional masculinity. To many fans watching professional wrestling in the late 2000s and early 2010s, few could have imagined the deeply personal journey that would later reshape her life so dramatically. In 2021, Gabby publicly came out as transgender, sharing that her transition had been a private, emotional journey unfolding quietly for many years. The announcement quickly gained worldwide attention, partly because of her well-known wrestling background and the dramatic contrast between her public image before and after transitioning. Yet beyond the physical transformation, what resonated most with many people was her honesty and emotional vulnerability. Gabby spoke openly about the internal struggles she faced, including fear of public reaction, anxiety about losing the identity that had defined much of her career, and the challenge of rebuilding her life in the public eye. Despite those fears, she ultimately chose authenticity over continuing to hide her true self. Today, Gabby Tuft is known not only as a former wrestler, but also as a fitness coach, motivational speaker, and advocate for self-acceptance. Through social media and public appearances, she encourages others to live honestly and embrace who they truly are. Her story goes beyond physical change, serving as a reminder that real strength often comes from the courage to be oneself, even under intense public scrutiny. Jen Richards has become one of the most respected, yet often under-recognized voices, helping reshape transgender representation in Hollywood. As both an actress and writer, she played an important role in changing how transgender stories are portrayed on screen, pushing the industry toward more authentic and emotionally grounded storytelling. Rather than focusing only on acting, Richards also worked behind the scenes to ensure that transgender characters were written with dignity, complexity, and realism. She gained attention through acclaimed television projects such as Transparent Mrs. Fletcher and the Emmy-nominated series Her Story, which she co-created and wrote. Through these performances and creative contributions, Richards brought nuance and humanity to characters that had often been reduced to stereotypes in earlier decades of film and television. What sets Jen Richards apart is her belief that representation is about more than visibility alone. She has consistently argued that true inclusion requires accurate storytelling, emotional honesty, and allowing transgender individuals to help shape their own narratives. Her work has challenged outdated assumptions while encouraging Hollywood to embrace broader and more compassionate perspectives. Like many transgender artists, Richards faced significant barriers early in her career, including limited opportunities and industry resistance. Instead of waiting for change to happen, she became part of the movement driving that change forward. Through persistence, intelligence, and creative vision, she earned deep respect throughout the entertainment industry. Today, Jen Richards stands as a symbol of how storytelling can create empathy, shift cultural conversations, and help audiences better understand experiences different from their own. Isis King became a groundbreaking figure in both fashion and television when she appeared as the first openly transgender contestant on America's Next Top Model. At a time when transgender representation in mainstream media was still extremely limited, her presence on national television introduced millions of viewers to a perspective they had rarely seen before. For many people across America, especially younger viewers struggling with identity and acceptance, her appearance carried enormous cultural significance. What made Isis truly memorable was not only the historic nature of her participation, but also the grace and resilience she displayed throughout the competition. Competing in a high-pressure environment, she faced criticism, judgment, and the heavy burden of representing an entire community in front of a national audience. Despite those challenges, she carried herself with confidence, professionalism, and quiet determination, showing that beauty and strength exist in many different forms. Her story resonated deeply with audiences who had never before seen someone like themselves reflected on television. After her time on the show, Isis continued building a successful modeling and acting career, appearing in fashion campaigns, magazine shoots, and television projects that helped expand transgender visibility within the entertainment industry. Over time, her influence became larger than reality television alone. Isis King emerged as a symbol of courage, self-acceptance, and perseverance during a period of major cultural change in media representation. Through interviews and public appearances, she continued encouraging others to embrace their identity and pursue opportunities without fear. Her journey remains an important reminder that visibility and authenticity can inspire lasting social progress. Jamie Clayton has emerged as one of the most compelling transgender actresses working in Hollywood today. Before entering the entertainment spotlight, she worked as a makeup artist, developing a deep understanding of beauty, identity, and transformation, themes that would later shape many of her performances on screen. Her early experiences behind the scenes also gave her insight into the pressures and expectations often placed on appearance within the entertainment industry. Clayton gained widespread recognition through the Netflix series Sense8, where she portrayed Nomi Marks, a transgender hacker navigating love, identity, and danger while connected to a group of people around the world. The role became groundbreaking not simply because the character was transgender, but because the part was played authentically by a transgender actress. Her performance stood out for its emotional honesty and humanity, allowing audiences to connect with the character beyond labels or stereotypes. Like many performers from underrepresented communities, Clayton faced challenges breaking into mainstream Hollywood. She encountered limited opportunities and the pressure of being viewed as a representative for an entire community rather than simply an actress. Instead of allowing those obstacles to define her, she used her growing platform to advocate for broader inclusion and more meaningful representation in film and television. In 2022, Clayton took on one of her most discussed roles when she portrayed Pinhead in the Hellraiser reboot. While the casting initially sparked debate among longtime horror fans, many critics praised her performance for bringing a fresh and unsettling presence to the iconic character. Today, Jamie Clayton represents a broader shift in Hollywood toward more diverse storytelling and authentic representation. Theo Germain has emerged as one of the most intriguing rising talents in Hollywood, recognized not only for strong acting performances, but also for helping broaden conversations around gender identity and representation. Identifying as non-binary, Germain represents a newer generation of performers challenging traditional labels while bringing authenticity and emotional honesty to the screen. Their breakthrough came through the Netflix series The Politician, where they portrayed James Sullivan, a sharp and loyal political strategist. What made Germain stand out to many viewers was a screen presence that felt both understated and quietly powerful. Rather than relying on dramatic performances or celebrity glamour, they connected with audiences through subtle emotion, sincerity, and calm confidence. Like many actors building careers outside conventional Hollywood expectations, Germain spent years working through smaller roles and independent projects before gaining broader recognition. Their growing influence reflects a larger cultural shift as audiences become more open to diverse identities and stories that were once rarely represented in mainstream entertainment. Beyond acting, Theo Germain has spoken thoughtfully about identity, self-expression, and the importance of creating space for people who exist outside traditional gender norms. In an industry historically shaped by rigid expectations, their presence represents meaningful progress toward inclusion and more authentic storytelling. Today, Theo Germain symbolizes a different kind of celebrity, one defined less by spectacle and more by honesty, depth, and quiet impact. Their influence may not always be loud, but it continues helping reshape who gets represented on screen and how those stories are told in modern Hollywood. Hailey Sahar has become a powerful example of resilience, personal transformation, and authentic representation in modern Hollywood. She is best known for her role as Lulu Ferocity in the critically acclaimed television series Pose, a groundbreaking show that brought the underground ballroom culture of the 1980s and early 1990s into mainstream entertainment. Through her performance, Sahar helped give visibility and emotional depth to communities and stories that had long been overlooked in film and television. Before gaining recognition as an actress, Hailey faced many personal struggles. Like many transgender individuals, she experienced rejection, instability, and the difficult journey of finding acceptance in a society that often misunderstood gender identity. Despite these hardships, she remained determined to pursue her dreams, using acting not only as a career but also as a way to express truth, healing, and self-empowerment. What sets Hailey Sahar apart is not only her talent, but also her presence on screen. She brings elegance, quiet confidence, and emotional vulnerability to her performances, allowing audiences to connect with her characters on a deeply human level. Her success reflects a broader cultural shift within Hollywood, where more authentic and diverse voices are finally being given opportunities to tell their own stories. Beyond acting, Sahar has become an advocate for self-love, confidence, and authenticity. Through interviews and public appearances, she encourages others to embrace who they are despite societal expectations. For many viewers, her journey represents hope, progress, and the enduring strength that comes from living honestly and unapologetically. The stories of these individuals remind us that true transformation is about far more than appearance alone. Each of them faced personal struggles, public judgment, and the pressure of living authentically in front of millions of people. Some broke barriers quietly behind the scenes, while others became highly visible symbols of courage and self-expression. Together, their journeys reflect how society and entertainment have gradually evolved toward greater understanding and inclusion. More importantly, they show that identity is deeply personal and that real strength often comes from honesty, resilience, and self-acceptance. Regardless of background or life experience, every person deserves dignity, respect, and the freedom to live truthfully. These stories encourage us to look beyond assumptions and remember that compassion and understanding can create meaningful change, not only in Hollywood, but in everyday life as well. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new videos. See you in the next one.